Welcome to the PTTS. Today's date is February 4th, 2026. My name is Nang Hong Lam. Today PTTS sessions video will be on step-by-step PTTS timeline episode 4. Before I start on step-by-step PTTS timeline, I want to point out a few things. Basically, it's just two main things, but it could be kind of like in a way, could take up some time. Okay, before I do that, right now is 7:15, so to keep that goal on 1 hour per day, I will have to stop at around 8:15. Like I'm saying, it's a goal that I'm setting, and kind of like in a way I'm giving me time to try to achieve this goal. So if like I pass some minutes of it, it's okay because I'm trying to achieve this goal. So I'm trying to stop this video at around 8:15. Okay, anyway, pretty much so you could see me like constantly when you see my head turn looking at the clock, then I'm just trying to make sure I able to keep that goal 1 hour per day. Okay, so back to what I'm saying. Anyway, so those two things basically will gonna maybe could take up the whole episode in 1 hour, and I'm probably not gonna get a chance to talk about step-by-step PTTS timeline. So pretty much in the first 3 episodes, it's just because there was thing. The first 2 episodes is I just couldn't. All those things that I said in those 2 episodes, those first 2 episodes, are things that I just couldn't hold in anymore. And also on episode 3, it's the thing that I wanted to say before I begin the step-by-step PTTS timeline. So that's on episode 3, and now there's 2 more things that I have to point out before I begin talking about step-by-step PTTS timeline. The first thing is, like on episode 2, I remember showing the scene of this a scene from this movie Urban Legend, and was just pointing out about kind of like in a way that because in one of the articles I posted up on my PTTS blog, which titled it "Bad Luck." Well, let me just double check. It's just "Bad Luck with Girlfriends." Basically, that's the title of that article that I posted up on my PTTS blog, which is the address is tumbl.com/PTTS 2023. So pretty much I put like in that article I wrote that I have masturbation looking at a picture of a woman and things like that. So I'm like pretty much, so basically that scene that I shown on the movie Urban Legend is a character who also have masturbation, and basically on that scene it show how he died basically. So I was just saying that, so pretty much kind of like in the whole reason I show that scene and talking about that article I wrote is because I just want, you know, to be left alone on this topic woman, kind of like in a way just I felt like I have already run into a lot of problems is dealing with this topic women, so I felt like, you know, to give me a break is just to not, you know, to leave me alone on this topic. And also kind of like in a way pretty much because yesterday, February 3rd, 2026, I kind of looked through a lot of my more recent video that I have recorded me where I talk in front of the camcorder. Mainly a lot on this one because it's more convenient. I could just push the record button and I could start talking and recording myself. So a lot of the videos using this one because I felt this one, you know, I have to set it up and have to kind of in a way take a few more process. And so most of the videos from this my Android phone, the camcorder from my Android phone. Anyway, so I have just looked through my more recent videos and also at the same time title it, you know, like the title of each of the video I capture. So I looked through most of them. Pretty much still have a few that I haven't looked through and things like that. And I felt like, you know, there's gonna be few that I felt like it's very important that I will upload it to my YouTube channel, and there's few that I felt that, you know, I just kind of like a reminder for myself, some note and things like that that I could delete and, you know, it's okay. And then there's few that I felt like it's important that I want to keep it as evidence and things like that. So it felt like kind of like in a way, and as I'm watching these videos, is my recent videos is pretty much I categorize that and also name each of the videos is and things like that. So pretty much that's why I bring up that scene again on the Urban Legend. It's just like I felt what I say in episode 2 about, you know, leaving me alone on this woman topic. I felt it's very important that, you know, the people know about this announcement. Pretty much I felt like, you know, in general, you know, kind of like in a way I felt maybe just haven't really, because currently in my current situation I still haven't got a feedback for my PTTS block for 9 years from 2016 to current 2026. So my PTTS block address is tumblr.com/PTTS 2023. So because of no feedback, could argue it as no one have came to my PTTS blog or my YouTube channel and things like that. So I felt like in a way looking at that argument, it could argue as I haven't get a word through to the world yet. You know, I haven't, what I'm saying haven't get through to the world and things like that. So even though on episode 2, you know, I point out that important announcement about, you know, please leave me alone on this topic, woman. So I felt like it's important announcement and things like that. But at the same time, I felt maybe just haven't able to get my words through to the world yet and things like that. So pretty much the same thing with all those videos that I watched through yesterday on, like, me speaking in front of the camcorder, and felt like the same thing, you know, just haven't really got my words out to the world yet and things like that. So especially when, you know, came to the video, I felt like I have some high priority or important ones. Felt, you know, didn't I have that? So kind of just like wanted to tell myself that I haven't really get my words out to the world yet and things like that. Okay, so that's one of the things that I want to talk about. And as for the second thing, well, it's just, I don't know, like, if for some reason you saw me riding my bicycle and it is a girl bicycle, you know, why am I riding a girl bicycle? I felt like, you know, more or less this, you know, someone have got to spot me riding my bicycle before, because I rode it all the time, you know, everywhere that I need to go, I would ride. So it just, you know, just this question, why am I riding a girl bicycle? You know, it's like, well, it's a long story, so I'm just gonna. Okay, so I'm just gonna quickly answer this question, and then I'm gonna go through the whole long story. So first, it was just never intended. I just didn't intend it. It was just. So I'm just gonna quickly that I wasn't intended to ride a bicycle. It was just I bought like a few bicycles to just use it as parts, because I had been running into a lot of bad luck and adversity with my bicycle. So I bought like a few bicycles just for the parts. So when my bicycle having problem, I could, you know, take it from the bicycle, the spare bicycle. Basically, it's just spares. I, you know, bought it for parts so I could replace the part and things like that. Bought two, basically, like two for the parts. This one, like this one that I'm currently writing, and another one. Okay, so I'm just gonna start from the beginning, the whole long story, to avoid a misunderstanding and things like that. Pretty much on. It started back on 2000, around 2000. I think around 2002 when my family moved from Grand Avenue, the apartment in the Monterey, the apartment in the Monterey, and moved to Tonopah from Grand Avenue in Pacific Beach to Old Town, Tonopah Avenue. So it's a house there. So kind of like in a way, 2002 when my family. Anyway, it wasn't really about the moving anyway, but it just so happened that was one of the kind of like a event that really stand out, because my family's been living in that apartment in Monterey for 10 years, from 1992 to 2002. So kind of in a way, I feel like it's a big, like a important events in my life and things like that. So basically start around there. So that's anyway, because now that I'm no longer living in Pacific Beach, you know, it's gonna be some distance, about 5 to 6 miles to get to the school campus. I felt like, you know, I need a bicycle in a way. You know, I can't just walk to school; it take too long and things like that. Pretty much that. At the same time, it just. The argument is, you know, I'm the regional TCG championship title holder in Pacific Beach, because the weekly Pokemon tournament is in Pacific Beach at Garnett Avenue, and I have the most first place there. So I'm the, in a way, like that would be equivalent to I'm the regional TCG championship title holder. So kind of like in a way, I felt to able to keep up with this image or this standards as a title holder, I should have bought my own car, and like that's how a title holder should be like, driving my car to school, even though it's like a high school and things like that, but it felt like it makes sense that way, it's like, anyway, like I'm saying, it just, but at the same time, on the other side of the argument, what if my surrounding doesn't know that I'm the regional TCG championship title holder? So there's like both sides of the argument, it's like, felt like, kind of like in a way, it just really ruined that whole purpose of trying to keep up with the standard on being a title holder when your surrounding doesn't even know anything about it. So kind of like in a way, there's both sides of the argument to it. So anyway, I just decided that, I'm just gonna go with a bicycle, just, I don't know how, like the both sides of the argument is, just don't want to continue with that, it's like, I have like a high school sports team, I'm in 2 high school sport team, I got accepted as a journalist of the Beachcomber, and a part-time job, and all these things in my life that I have to worry about. So I felt like, I'm just not gonna go with these both sides of the arguments on the title holder and things like that. So I decided to, just go with looking for like a really brand name bicycle that, kind of like in a way that I try to keep up with the title holder standard and things like that, So I remember look through a few bicycle place, store that sell bicycles, to look for brand name bicycles, kind of like in a way to try to keep up with that standard as a title holder and things like that. So basically that's how the history on the bicycle started, and it's around there. So pretty much I look around, and then, well, I look more on, kind of like in a way, I kind of like, the one that I wanted to buy my bicycle from is Toy R Us toy store, and so pretty much I decided, after looking through a few bicycle stores, decided on the Toy R Us store, and pretty much it was this bicycle that it's kind of like painted, like have the army, so painted like the army color and all of that. It's like, actually it's like brown color, so kind of like in a way could argue like, a durable tank, like a Hummer or tank, the build up of the bicycle, kind of like a really durable mountain bike and everything. And the brand name Mongoose, it's considered as a really high, like up there, a brand name that considered as, it's usually like you go to the X game and you talk with like the biker, and they would recommend Mongoose. They think it's a brand name also, like like the X game biker and the X game and things like that. So I kind of went with that on, like the very durable mountain bike, and it's a known brand name Mongoose, and in the brown color, the painting on the brown color make it look like a really, like a Hummer or like a tank. So remember, kind of like in a way, like, sort of like, to avoid the question, why didn't I buy a car? It's kind of like in a way. So I talk a lot about my bicycle, just to avoid that topic. People bring up, why didn't you buy a car? And it's like, so kind of like, when there's talk in when this talk and then the topic transportation brought up, I immediately start talking about my bicycle and things like that to avoid the question, why didn't I buy a car and things like that. So again, I just didn't want to get into those the, the both sides of the argument on me as the regional TCG championship title holder. Technically, having that title, I supposed to buy like a car to keep up with that standard and everything. Like I'm saying, there's both sides of the argument to it and everything. It's pretty much how it started, and remember then on May 2013, after I pretty much, okay, so it's one more thing I want to point out. Pretty much like, so I basically start riding my bicycle to school using that mongoose. So from Tonopah all the way to Mission Bay High School. So it's about 5 to 6 miles, and okay, so I'm gonna continue. Just want to point that out. And so on May 2013, after I got out of the rehabilitations in the mental hospital, remember, it was just returning back to my family house and things like that, and my family just like told me that they just don't want to see me in the house anymore. And I just kind of like, that's fine. Just like, can I just pick up a few of my things? And they said, okay, yeah, you could do that. And so kind of like, that's my mongoose. Like that's the one thing that I make sure it's been with me for a while and things like that. So my mongoose bicycle and things like that. So anyway, I just, because I didn't have a place to go to, because my parents, like my family, doesn't want to see me in my house, like the house anymore. And so kind of like in a way, so I kind of needed the mongoose, and it was just, I don't know, like I just got out of the rehabilitation. I'm still like just thinking that maybe could just, give myself a few time to adjust and things like that. And okay, so the light is turned off. So you could just, I'm just gonna go with the light, and the lights turn off, and the background is going on, things like that. Okay, you could just barely see me. It's not as clear as before because of the light turned off. Okay, so back to what I'm saying. So pretty much, I locked my mongoose on the park, and the next day it was stolen. So pretty much it was just at the same time. 2013 was the most conflict time in my life. Bad luck and adversity constant happening to me daily. I remember, just thinking that, probably the next bike. I try like to be really careful. Like I remember be very careful about my next bike. So I remember like I would, like put that bicycle on top of my car all the time, like when I'm not riding it, just to avoid being stolen again and things like that. And anyway, so pretty much I didn't really. It's the brand name is Kent, Kent. That's the brand name that after the mongoose bicycle got stolen. The first one is a black one, Ken painted black one, and then the next one is Ken painted with the coat with the painting of blue color. So like first one was painting a black color, and it just keep like adversity and bad luck keep happening to me, and the bicycle, like the tire, just constantly, just flat tire all the time, and replaces the tube all the time, and even the out part, the tire part, the rubber part, and everything, and so it's just like I like the bicycle. I don't like. I remember there was this one talk with the Chinese Bible Church member. His name is like Pastor Peter, and I just didn't get a chance to ask his last name. And remember he was asking me, like I do any exercise or anything like that, and I remember saying like like some kind of like, because at that point when he was asking me, I kind of took an intermission on my jogging activity and things like that, but I'm still riding my bicycle. So I was telling him that like I rode my bicycle to places in a way. It's kind of like exercise and things like that. And so pretty much like and then he was asking me, do I take good care of my bicycle and things like that, and I felt I really, I don't know, like replacing my bicycle and replacing, I really like, so I just go with, kind of like, replacing my flat tire and replacing the broke, like the part that no longer working and things like. It felt like in a way it's like taking care of my bicycle and things like that. So it's kind of like say kind of yes, but even though like I say yes, but I felt like I really only taking kind of like only replace the part with just because of my busy schedule. Just didn't really have time to really take like actually really taking care of my bicycle and things like that. I'm just replacing the fat tire and replacing the part that basically that's. So I don't know, like it just depend how you want to look at it. Replacing the flat tire and replacing the part could see as really taking care of the bicycle, or you could also look at just have a very busy schedule, just didn't really have much time to take care of my bicycle. So it just depends how you want to look at it. It's like